welcome, and also to thank you participating in our digital panel today. And a sincere welcome to the distinguished guest speakers, Sylvia, Wendy, and Changfang, who have taken the time to join our discussion. Before this section starts, I would like to share more information about the China Alliance. The China Alliance provides its support for successful market access to and business development, as well as via matchmaking and networking opportunities to help European and Chinese companies fostering long-lasting and value-adding partnership among business and technology. Our goal to bridge Europe and China in economically, technologically, and cultural ways, fostering cooperation and support, facilitating a great friendship and partnership between Europe and China. If you want to know more about us, you can visit our tech.phone networking platform. You can also reach out to me or any of my colleagues here, for example, who is the moderator today, also my Federico. Today, our topic is robotics development in China, trends and opportunities. So I'm looking forward to today's webinar to discuss more about the trends, opportunities, and the challenges. On our panel today, we have a great range of professionals who will be joined by our moderator, Federico, and I'm sure we are going to have a fruitful discussion. So again, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity again to welcome you all, and I hope everyone enjoys today's proceedings. Now I would like to give the floor to Federico, who is going to give you more introduction about EUTech Chamber. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sierra, for this great welcome speech. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today in this digital event that we are sure will be very interesting for all of us to have a better understanding of a very important topic such as robotics development in China, and also of the trends, challenges, and business opportunities related to this sector that the country offers to foreign companies. Before we deep dive in this topic, please let me share with you and let me show you the structure of this webinar. I don't know if you can see my shared screen. I am sharing my screen. If you cannot see my screen, you just need to click on the button, on the icon nearby the hand. You should see an icon with a hand in the right side down of your screen. There is a nearby icon. If you click on the nearby icon of the hand, you will be able to see my share screen. So today's webinar, as I mentioned, well, no, guys, no need to click on the icon of the hand. You need to click on the nearby icon, not on the icon of the hand, okay? Because many of you are clicking on the icon of the hand. You need to click on the nearby icon of the hand, okay? Well, here you can see the structure of today's webinar. We already had the welcome speech done by Sierra as chair of China Alliance. I will be introducing shortly the EUTech and sharing also with you a very short video. We will have Wendy Chang as a keynote speaker and also as panelists together with Sylvia Stoker and Changfang Wang. So this is the structure of our webinar today. Thank you for all the speakers for being here. And now, as I mentioned, I am going to share with you one very short video that will show you in a very nice way what the China Alliance is and what we try to do at it. Please watch the video. This was our short video. And now, please let me introduce you very also shortly our European Technology Chamber. We are a Swiss non-profit organization with three main goals. In one hand, competitiveness. We are trying to help our members and our advocates to be more competitive, basically through technology and through innovation. In the other hand, the growth. We are helping also many of our advocates and members to have access and opportunities in different regions and countries of the world. And of course, sustainability is also one of our main concerns and goals. We are helping our members to do more and more environmental friendly and sustainable ways of business. In a nutshell, this is what we do, and this is how we are structured. We are divided into alliances. As you can see, regional alliances in where we are focusing on different parts of the world. China is one, of course, of them. Then we have the tech alliances in where we are focusing on different business sectors, all of them related to technology, like energy, like smart cities, or like manufacturing, for example. And then we have the impact alliances, because we not only want to develop business, or we don't want to only helping our members to develop business here, but we also want to create impact in what we do. That's why we have the impact alliances with, for example, SDGs or climate action developments. So this is how we are structured. And well, I can tell you that the UTech, at the UTech, we are arranging and organizing more than 200 webinars, same as this webinar per year, with almost 700 speakers, like our speakers today. Next year, we are going to start with our hybrid events, physical expos, in where people can participate in a physical way, but also online through our virtual exhibition. And we are having over 50,000 registrants every year to all our events. That means our network grows every day a little bit or a much. About the UTech, I can tell you also that we are a very strong networking platform. We are arranging more than 400 networking meetings every year, in where our members can have access to our speakers and panelists. Next week, we have our next networking meeting about the China Alliance, and some or all of our panelists today will be there. We also provide a lot of business opportunities in those networking meetings to our members, to our advocates, and of course, we provide also information and a starting point for the EU projects and fundings, tenders, grants from the European Union. This is also what we are doing for our members, for our advocates. The UTech ecosystem, as you can see in this slide, well, we are having our insights, we are developing white papers, position papers, we have our magazine, Visions for Europe, in where our members and everyone is invited to write articles and to share their knowledge together with us, to be published at our magazine. We have our free of charge programs, like the social media program, like the Climate Action Partnership, to continue helping our members to develop their businesses in the best way. And of course, we are having our Tech.Forum. The Tech.Forum is our online platform in where almost everything what happens at the Tech happens through the Tech.Forum. In there we have virtual booths. Let me show you the next slide. In there we have virtual booths. In there we have our matchmaking platform. In there we organize all our virtual events. And well, in there we have our speaker database, publications, events, etc. So I invite you all to have a look on the Tech.Forum, to have a look on our websites, to contact me anytime if you want to get more information. And now is time for me kind of to stop speaking and let our real experts to share their knowledge today. Before that, I invite all of you, dear guests, to share with us your questions about today's topic, robotics development in China. You can write your questions at the Q&A section of this meeting room in the left side up. You will have a chat room where you can write your questions. Later, we'll pick up some to ask them to our panelists. Please don't wait until the end of the panel to send your questions. You can do it anytime starting now. Today, as I said, we are honored with the presence of three great panelists, all of them with huge experience in robotics and in China. I am sure they will offer us different points of view about today's topic, sharing with us a great vision of its current situation, trends, challenges, and opportunities, and also telling us, in their opinion, where the country China is heading in this sector. Please let me introduce you Wendy Cheng, who will provide a short keynote speech about our today's topic. Wendy's passion for empowering people started from her receiving Hong Kong Jockey Club scholarship. She was awarded the 50 Women in Robotics You Need to Know About in 2021 by Women in Robotics. Working in a 30-year-old business development company in Europe, HBD, she has richly merged the business cultures of Chinese and Nordics to bring joint cooperation between technical companies to work, thanks to her over 10 years of working experience in Finland. Good morning, Wendy. Please, you can start with your keynote as soon as you want. I will provide you the rights to share your screen. Sorry, first of all, I need to put your here. This is your presentation, which you touched before, and now I will let you, the presenter. Hi, Wendy. You are muted. You need to unmute yourself, and then you can start with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Federico. Right, so last time we talked about the robotics opportunities in China a long time ago. So I thought I could go deeper into the different kinds of sectors this time. And background why I chose these car industries and also the elderly industries, partially because they're related. And it's also because I'm leading startup companies from China, and they're doing the exoskeleton. And in the future, the exoskeletons will be used in the car industries and elderly sectors. And that's why I'm more familiar with that. I'm not an expert in every field, but at least these two fields I could talk about. Right. So annual sales of vehicles in China is increasing at about 3% per year. And the penetration rate of the L1, 2, 3 level of autonomous driving levels will be increasing. And we are estimating about 5% in 2025, which is the conditional driving. Of course, Chinese companies are a little bit more ambitious of deploying L4. But L4 is usually quite expensive because of the cost there. And it's not just the hardware, it's also because the ecosystems, etc. I'll talk about it later. Right, so this is just the sales compounded with the autonomous driving vehicles together. The market will be booming. And so the three main players in the market is NIO, Tesla, and also BYD. And you could see that Tesla's sales is actually coming down, and those with the Chinese brand, they are trying to catch up. You see the two lines are emerging. Of course, the gray line is the combination of NIO and BYD. And to look at how we can benefit from this market, one of the main trends that we look is the R&D direction. And we could see, according to statistics, it's been the energy and the Internet of Things. So why I wanted to talk about this, it's because this ecosystem of the automotive industries is becoming more diverse and more strategically sort of cross-scenario like application and these vendors providers. For example, I'd like you to see very quickly of this one. I think this one is more important. So from 2020 in October, starting from Huawei's high, very early, where they have this 5 intelligent system integrating this driving, intelligent copy, intelligent electrification, connectivity, intelligence, automobile, like cloud. They put everything together. Starting from October, you could see that in November, then Pony AI started the robotaxi, which started in L4 and L5 already. In January, the same year, the cloud car from Ibana, they are cooperating with Alibaba, and then soon they cooperated with about 10 car companies to push forward with this human-machine co-driving and also vehicle road collaborations, digitalization of transportation. You can see that the months are leaping very fast. I'm sorry, I forgot to translate this one. In January, this Pony AI and Apollo pioneered the AVP autonomous parking, which is China's first one, autonomous parking with 5 cameras and 12 ultrasonic radars. And then in the same year, July, very soon, you can see this timeline is by month. And every month, almost like every 2-3 months, there will be a new solution coming out. So what I was trying to say is that this is a very highly competitive market where these players are extremely active. So starting from even from the 2021 January, in July, there's another major development of the deeper cooperations between the Great Wall Motor and this Baidu's AVP, since it was pushed out in January. And that is seriously aiming at the L4 autonomous parking with vision range. In April, slightly earlier, this ZF developed AVP for autonomous parking as well, with this calm camera of 360 degrees surrounding view and perception, and also with ultrasonic radars. And they've raised about $150 in the C round. So it's very aggressive and a lot of capital there. So what we can see is that these cross-scenario mass productions and applications and these cloud services, computer platforms, chips, everything are becoming more integrated. And they are also going to the other fields as well, like this Waymo and Pony AI, they go gradually more into the autonomous logistics and deliveries from this robotaxi. And they've launched it in 2021 in May in Beijing's Yiwu. And very recently, Beijing has piloted, I think it was about 60 spots, where within 150 kilometers, if you take autonomous driving taxis, is free of charge. So that's a lot of them hot money are running into this field and piloting. And as you can see, that competition is very high, and a lot of and they are not afraid of carrying out different kinds of pilots and burning money. So this is the sweet spot if you're thinking about this market. In terms of chips, so more of these major car companies, manufacturers, they are using NVIDIA's, selecting it as the main driving chips. Along with it is Snapdragon Ride and also Huawei's MDC. Of course, Geely has their own this Mobileye and IQ5, this ADAS from the Intels and the Ultra chips. So, which is equipped in their Geely's Zeekr R01? Yes, that is the latest model. So, and the main trend in these industries is the renewable energies vehicles, and also renewable energy special vehicles for commercial use and special duties. And another more important field is the IoTs, where the robotics, AIs, algorithms, big data are used. So if we are looking into it, these are the sweet spots. And when this autonomous taxi pilot was launched in Beijing, one of the first news that released it was this elderly care internet platform. So and they are encouraging a lot of the elderly to take the autonomous driving, like taxis, and using more of these services. If we look into this market, in 2021, the population over 60-year-old retirement age would be 267 million in China. That means 1.82 working person would be working for one retired person. And it will be increasing at a rate of 35%. And so, and if you look at the assistive robots being used in Chinese market.
Sorry, Wendy, you have your last minute. Right.
You wrote there 50 minutes, so I added 5 minutes for myself. All right, it's very soon. Right, so it's about half comparing to the industrial robots. And there's a boom after the COVID. And usually it's the coastal areas which does the best with the robotics. And it's lots of them are also used in the sales and the wholesale market that don't concern you. And a lot of them are serving in the restaurant, etc. This is another major companies with 30 subsidiaries in 30 different countries. Blah, blah, blah. What I wanted to tell you. Oh, the business model is important. So a lot of the Chinese companies, they're using the robot as service. And one of the models is that they could also rent the robots to the VCs and then sell them to the VCs and rent it back with monthly fee when they have the need. So there are different kinds of renting models. It's not just to the users. Consider that. And yes, and this is one of the exoskeletons that is targeting the market of the elderly people. I can't play. Anyways, so the main thing about the robotics in the elderly sector, especially in these assistive robots, where you could see that there are lots that are being used in the restaurants, etc. One of the fields is to help them walk and help them be independent. Exoskeletons would be one of the major trends in the future. And the challenges in this field is the weight of the batteries, the connectivity to the IoT systems, and the usabilities, interfaces of the exoskeletons. So these are the opportunities for you guys. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Wendy, for this great keynote. And now I am going to introduce you the rest of our two panelists. First of all, Chanfang Wang, the founder of Jenny in Bot GmbH, whose mission is to transform gastronomy, retail, and healthcare with robotics and AI in Germany. Chanfang is passionate about empowering humans to achieve their full creative potential by releasing them from repetitive and mundane tasks. She has more than 14 years of cross-cultural experience in corporate strategy, market and competitive intelligence, and business development, mainly in IT and warehouse automation sectors. Prior to her entrepreneurship journey, she led China strategy and strategic partnership building at Körber Supply Chain. And during her time at Dematic, a top player in warehouse automation industry worldwide, she served as a strategic partner responsible for revenue optimization and business performance transformation in Europe. Last but not least, please let me introduce you Silvia Stocker, a global robotics and AI speaker and advisor, founder and CEO of Arabesque. She draws on a wealth of experience in robotics, economics, and the performing arts. Previously, she worked out of New York, Paris, London, and Barcelona. Besides her fascination for robots and the interaction between human and machine, Silvia loves to challenge herself on the exponential mindset, meditation, sports, and design. She holds an BSc in economics from SIPS and also an Alt MBA from Seth Godin. Arabesque stands for Human-Centered Robotics and AI for Business. So after this brief but excellent introduction of our speakers, let's start with the panel discussion. And we will start with Chanfang. Chanfang, good morning. The pandemic has changed the way we interact with restaurants. We order more and more online, use QR codes, and pay contactlessly. All of this has been around in China for several years. What is now becoming more and more established there and reaching the next level are automation processes in the form of service robots. But before we get to that, how did the journey of digital transformation of restaurants in China begin?
Hello, Federico. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, very glad to be here and to share with you some of the things I've learned after having spent almost half my time here in Europe. So originally I'm from China. So yeah, so how did this journey of digital transformation of restaurants begin in China? So Chinese consumers actually are very, very much used to QR code scanning, mobile payment, and online ordering already before Corona. So if you look at the process in the restaurant, you have this ordering process. You have the waiters delivering the food and drinks to the table, and then you have to pay. So for the ordering and payment process in the restaurant, it's already very digitized, let's say before Corona in China. Because everyone knows how to use Alipay, everyone knows how to use WeChat Pay. Alipay started in 2004, WeChat Pay started in 2013. They're major mobile payment methods in China. So by scanning this QR code, you can either send money or receive money. In China, even the musicians and beggars on the streets, they actually use QR code scanning to collect money in China. So there are two ways how you can pay via QR codes in China. The first way is the customer scans the merchant's QR code, and it's usually just a simple piece of paper printed at the checkout. And you can then enter the amount of money you want to send to the shop owner, and the money will be sent directly to the shop owner. You just need to show the shop owner that you have transferred the money. The second way is for the merchant to scan your QR code. So you, as a customer, show your QR code on your smartphone, and then the seller, the merchant, will select the amount that they want to deduct from your account, and then they scan the QR code. And this actually method is even simpler because then you don't need to show the merchant that you have transferred the money. So unlike Apple Pay, which requires seller to buy technical equipment to receive payments, in China, like I said, a piece of paper is sufficient with QR code. So this means that this has gained a lot of adoption in China since 2004 already. It is very easy, it is fast and accessible to any customer who owns a mobile device. So in China's largest cities, residents pay roughly 80% of their monthly expenditure already on mobile payment, using mobile payment, and in fifth and sixth tier cities, people usually use this mobile payment to pay 90% of their monthly expenditures, like electricity, taxi, anything that you imagine. So the most used, let's say, mobile payment actually in China is actually in food delivery and restaurants. So there's an app called Meituan Waimai. So this app, you can order food from the restaurants, you can order from supermarkets, convenience store, already before Corona, and everybody's using it. Yeah, it just makes life a lot easier. People can order from the office, can order from home, can order anywhere. They can pick it up if they don't want to have it delivered. So this is like really ubiquitous in China. It's like everywhere. So as you can imagine, after this ordering and payment process is already digitized in restaurants, the next step is, of course, looking at automation of the delivery of food and drinks. Already, actually, back in 2010, there's already a self-service restaurant in China, in Jinan. They introduced a robot food delivery service, which is very, very simple at that time, with a robot traveling along the like railway kind of thing, like conveyor belt kind of technology. But nowadays, this is already much more advanced. Nowadays, it's using LiDAR, so you don't need a lot of stickers or anything or a QR code to navigate. You can just navigate without modifying the current environment. So the company, one company that introduced the delivery robots in the restaurant earliest is called Kinong. They started already in 2010. They are now among the leading players in China, and also they are now in Europe. So this is how the whole thing started.
Thank you so much, Pang. And now we are going to welcome Silvia. Silvia, good morning. Thank you for being here. And well, I have a big question for you for the starting. I mean, what is the main opportunity for European businesses when it comes to the robotics development in China? Big question.
Yes, hello everyone. Also from my part, thank you for joining today. So what is the main opportunity for European businesses? Well, first of all, I would like to say that if I talk about robotics, I will always talk about the category of service robotics. There's also industrial robotics. I talk about service robotics. There is obviously manufacturing and deployment of robots in China. And what does this create? It creates for us a vast expertise that we can benefit from Chinese models, from Chinese expertise and use cases. I think this is an amazing opportunity for us. What we do at Arabesque, we join usually calls when we work with different manufacturers of robotics, where we can exchange use cases also between China and Europe, so we can actually see what works and what doesn't work. But I think to come back to the question, the main opportunity is really to observe the Chinese market, get in touch and actually see what the automation processes are, and also what the human-centered approach could be. Talking about a challenge also, I think the human-centered approach is a big topic to address here, because one part is the technology, the robotics, the AI, but the other part is the human-centered approach. And we do have a different culture in Europe, so we also have to adapt the human-centered approach, have different speech programs, different kind of interaction, because it's a different culture. And yeah, so for example, we work with companies in China which are called Youptech. Most of you will probably be familiar. They produce a cruiser robot, a social robot, which works really well. Also Pudu Robotics. Actually, I think Wendy showed a picture before. These are the robots which are used in hospitality in restaurants. They can serve drinks and food. Also, this company works really well for us. And yeah, I think that's it for now, for my answer for the call.
Yeah, thank you so much, Silvia. Wendy, again, good morning. Last time we talked about the supply chains. Last time you were here, structure of the robotics in China. Can you give some examples how they are used in some industries?
Yes, like I mentioned in the presentation, in these car industries, a lot of people think about the car industries. They thought about these robotic arms, etc., how they use. And in fact, the car industry has been practicing it for a very long time. In my understanding, for example, the Toyota, it's close to 100% automation. So this time I was trying to talk about these AI algorithms, big data is being used in the car industries, and mainly that they are doing like the only hardware that really matters is high processing chips, which everyone knows, to everyone's knowledge, is the critical component, and a lot of the Chinese are trying to advance into that. But then in terms of the car, there will be more of the intelligence in this integrated, for the users will be the integrated services of payments, smart grid, where they could use the renewable energy cars at the same time they can make use of the payment, and the design of the interior of cars, etc. I think I'm missing everything into it, but and the other one is the elderly sectors, like in the hospitality sectors. Those are quite common, and the Chinese consumers are a very great fan of new things, especially when they see in the shopping malls, etc. But how much can they actually adapt to the wider use in the populations? It's another question. So this is a sweet spot for companies who are thinking of using to advancing into this sector. The general thumb of rule is that anything that could make use of the B2C in China would have 90% of success rate there because of the huge populations. So and yeah, I was remembering that those questions asking about the data. I think the key functions of us as a panelist here is to share our experiences, etc. And a lot of the data you can find also on the internet, but our experiences and knowledge in these sectors, for example, how the companies are in general actually bring themselves, penetrate into the market, get the capital, and get their products accelerated in the consumer markets, for example, really leverage this market is the key message that we would like to bring.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're muted.
Yeah, I am muted. No, I am not muted anymore, right? Okay. Yeah, one more question for Changfang. Changfang, how are restaurants in China using data? Wendy was speaking about data right now. So how are restaurants in China using data and technology to deal with challenges such as labor cost increase and supply chain issues?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, China, in the past 5 to 6 years, the average wage in restaurants have been increased for about 40%. And a lot of young people nowadays in China, they also don't want to work in factories or work in restaurants because of the repetitive nature and long working hours. Nowadays in China, there are also other professions which are more attractive. For example, this kind of key influencers and a lot of other professions which emerged as a result of digitalization in China. So how do then the restaurants in China resolve such issues? Actually, due to Corona and also due to the restrictions and regulations by the government, a lot of restaurants experience really shortage of staff after they opened up. So it really accelerated the adoption of service robots in the restaurant. So the service robot is doing actually very simple things. It's just bringing the dishes being prepared in the kitchen to the table of the guest. And then once the guest finishes, then the waitress or waiter will just put the dirty dishes on the robot, and the robot goes back to the kitchen. It's just automating the transportation part of this process. And usually, I mean, depending on the type of robot, but one type of robot, for example, it can actually deliver in one time 8 to 9 traditional Chinese dishes, while human beings can carry maybe 2 to 3 Chinese dishes at one time. So the productivity of the robot compared to humans, it's actually can reach 3 to 4 times of the manual labor. And the robot's salary, in this case, it's actually much cheaper. In China, a restaurant delivery robot is equivalent to 1.5 to 2 FTEs. at the moment. And there's another, China, there's a huge population, and there are lots of migrant workers working in big cities like Shanghai. And in Shanghai, the government actually incentivized the canteen operators to automate their kitchen, to automate the preparation of food, and also payment and ordering process, so that the canteen can operate more efficiently, so that they can provide even cheaper food to migrant workers who don't have a lot of money in such a big city. So there's a founder of is Mrs. Liu. So she is a canteen operator in Shanghai for these migrant workers. She said that 25 to 35% of the cost for the canteen is actually related to manpower. By using robots to prepare the food and to deliver the food, they can save roughly labor costs by 20%. And also using this robotics restaurants compared to the traditional restaurants. So a traditional restaurant, it takes about 50% of the entire restaurant space. But by using the robotic restaurant, they only takes up, in the end, they only take up about 20 to 30% of the space. So it means that a rent reduction of about 20 to 30% to 30% to 20%, exactly. So, and there's a hot pot. Recently, there's a hot pot restaurant. It's called AI Xiaoguo. If you have been to the Chinese hot pot restaurants, you know that you order these individual ingredients for a hot pot, where you can just put in the hot pot. You need to select the soup base. And so the robot will prepare all the ingredients for each individual customer's order. And then the robot in this restaurant also makes cotton candies and also ice cream. And there's another huge restaurant, hot pot restaurant chain. They adopted actually the restaurant delivery robots. I think they're the first to adopt. It's called Haidilao, and they combine not just they combine actually the AI, big data, and robotics to optimize also the supply chain and logistics. How do they do that? So the robotic arms in the restaurant are not only capable of cooking and preparing food, they can also manage food waste, because they really look at which food to pick. They pick the food which has the earliest expiry date, so that they can reduce the food waste in the kitchen. And the robotics also store the customer's ordering information, so in the cloud, so that they can understand better the customer's purchasing behavior in the restaurant, so that the restaurant can plan better their food, what to purchase in the future, so that they can optimize their logistics and food in the restaurant. So these are some of the examples how Chinese restaurants are using robotics and AI technologies to help address the challenge of labor cost increase and supply chain issues.
Thank you, Changfang. One more question for Silvia. Silvia, what are some interesting trends in China to observe for European businesses? We cannot hear you. You are not on. You are not on mute, but we cannot hear you. No. Maybe you mute your earphones. Let's say. No. Suddenly we cannot hear you. Maybe you switch off your audio and come again with the audio. Switch off your audio, come in again. Yeah. No. Yeah. Let's see if we can hear you now. You need to switch on. Silvia?
Yes.
Now we can hear you. Great.
Oh,
excellent.
okay. So I have to switch off and on again. All right. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No problem.
All right. Great. So what are some interesting trends in China to observe? Yes, I wanted to say that thank you, Changfang, for your interesting insights. And I would like to add to that about the trends in China to observe. Well, before I mentioned a couple of robotics companies, and I would like to structure my answer in 2 points. First of all, I see sectors like healthcare, I think is very interesting what China does and how they use robotics for elderly care especially, and how this works. We can really benefit from that. And take out what works there and adapt it to our European market. And the second one is the robot automation in reception area or client services, which I think is also very interesting to automate these services and actually address the human. So these are the 2 areas which I think are interesting trends to follow when it comes to service robotics. And the second point is what I observe as well, for example, with a robot like Temi. Temi is not a Chinese manufactured robot. It's actually a product of Israel, a personal robot and a telepresence robot in combination. And what Chinese companies do to bring that robot in the market, they produce a lot of accessories to put on the robot itself, to actually make it customized for doctors or for hotels or for any kind of other industries. Really, they produce in no time so many accessories that can be put on the robot itself to actually adapt it to the sector. And I was really astonished to see the variety and the success rate they have, also defection and so on. So it's not just about manufacturing and actually going into certain industries, but also what I see a big trend in China is also the way they address different industries with producing accessories to actually adapt the robot to the market. And as we know from the past, Chinese are really fast in integrating and producing new products. So I think this is interesting for us to know and to observe. And also, I would like to say, just like as a general overview, we heard a lot about different robots and different models from Changfang and also Wendy. We are in an exponentially growing market. And as of all the studies I read so far, it is prognosed that in like 5 to 7 years, service robotics will overtake the industrial market in terms of market size, which is really something I would like to emphasize. We're not just talking about sweet personal robots or service robots. This is a really big market and a big market to follow and a big business also to go into. And to automate. And I think especially in Europe, we can observe the Chinese market really well. How can we also automate faster? And how can we adapt this to our European market? I think that's really, really important, because I see Europe is really behind in this. And I also still see there is a lot of fear that we, at Arabesk, we need to address with the people. And with exchanging and learning from the Chinese market, I think there is a huge opportunity for us.
Thank you so much, Silvia. Wendy, what is the most common strategies of entering car industry in China?
Oh, yes. General rule of thumb, and it's also probably applying to the healthcare sectors as well. Pretty much everything made in China. So you have to brand yourself as a Chinese company, especially when you're cooperating with these cloud computing platforms, etc. And you'll be also struggling with these big players like Baidu, Huawei, and those are not easy players at all. You have to have the right connections. So I could give a very simple model that we used before. So basically, with, for example, this Chinese infrastructure transportation company, what we did is that we apply for the government fund. So the company's team has officially set up a project under the government's name, and then they push the whole project under on top of that, through the management, and then they implemented it in the car parks. They've got like thousands, hundreds and thousands of car parks in China. So this is how you have to make use of the government fund power to make the first step. It's not about money. The money is very small, but this government backing for the marketing strategies and marketing effect, and also to get your new project and your new solutions approved inside a gigantic Chinese company. Government support in a way of government fund or government provided land or government provided office free of charge usually, those would be the key. And then once the project is implemented there, then it's slightly easier. And one thing that I forgot to mention previously about these cars, what sorts of opportunities you're looking for. High-end cars only occupies about 60.5%. And so there's a lot of rooms for you to compete in the tier 1 and tier 2 supplying for the high-end cars. Renewable energy cars is about 15% only. And one of the major battlefield for them is the grid, Internet of Things and core components, that high processing chips. Capital, if your company is typically aiming at L4, it's very high cost, because imagine that one of those cars, they equipped with 12 cameras, 12 radars, and 3 LiDARs, and then 2 GNSS and 2 computing platforms. It's really expensive. And think about the partners that you're going to need to cooperate with is very huge amount. So the cost is very, it's the key element, challenge there. And also, if you talk about even just the hardware, of course, like lots of people think about when you make things in China, that the cost will totally come down, but it's not necessarily the case, because of the distance, you don't necessarily have the control over it, and the different things happened with the government policies that could change overnight, and then you have to react very fast of how you deal with it, and sometimes you just don't have a way to go around it. If you're dealing with new components in the car industries, from prototype to small batch of the production typically may take 1 year, ideally. So the capital pressure and the capital flow pressure is it's quite high. So you need to have enough stock of your own investment to go into it. So, so far I've talked a lot about entering into the Chinese market, but at the same time, there are lots of the car companies in China trying to come out of China. But so far, I've seen that they are very short-visioned, and they haven't really got the knowledge and the experience and understanding of how to really cooperate and play in the European market. So this is a mutual way. If you go into the Chinese market, always think yourself as a Chinese company, brand yourself as a Chinese company, everything made in local, like it or not. If you target the companies going abroad, then you have to work on the relationships and really educate them for a very long time of how the Western countries or European Union's market would be for them. And seriously, in my opinion, a lot of them, they don't understand. So it's a pain in the ass. So, but with the time and with the market progress, we'll see that there will be more companies coming out. That is for sure. So there are 2 kinds of opportunities to catch. And so I think I talked too much. Sorry about that. Please continue.
No, you didn't talk too much. You talk very well. But it's true that the time is flying. We just have a few minutes to finish this excellent panel discussion, this great webinar. I have a lot of questions, lots of questions here in the public chat, some of them asking about the safety-related robot applications. If we speak about legislation in China, some of them related to human-machine interaction in restaurants, some of them about the challenges using robots in healthcare. I mean, we really have a lot of questions, and it would be unfair for me to choose some over the other. So, in my opinion, what we can do, since we don't have time to answer all of them, we can answer and we can speak about some of those questions next week in our networking meeting. All of you guys are invited to join. Silvia and Chanfang at least will be there, maybe Wendy also, but Silvia and Chanfang will be there. Now, what I am going to do, I am going to ask 3 of our speakers, Chanfang, to provide a last, a final statement, a final sentence summarizing a little bit how they see China's robotics sector in China in a few sentences. So starting with Chanfang first, please. Any final statement, any final message to our audience about robotics sector in China?
Well, I think that in China, because of the population aging and so on, like Wendy mentioned already, and government is really also finding solutions to address this problem. Robotics and AI, of course, is just one of those solutions. But people are very, very much mostly supporting this and open to it. So I think China will continue to kind of be the early adopters of all these newer AI and robotic combined solutions. Yeah, so that's actually like my final.
Thank you, Chanfang. Silvia, your final sentence or thoughts about whatever we have been speaking about today?
All right, I would like to actually address European businesses, and I would like to say that maybe we could look at the curiosity level, the playfulness that Chinese people are actually interacting with robots. And we don't see that so much in Europe. And I think we could take a part of that cake and address it here and make it more like approachable, easy, fun as well, and spark curiosity in Europe. I think that's also a big part of it. And I think that would be something we could work with. And I think it's a very important way of being and way of looking at it.
Great. Thank you, Silvia. Wendy, your final statement, your final message to the audience today?
Right. I guess two of the other speakers have summarized everything quite well. The last point that I want to make before I leave and leave for you guys is that these layers of commissions in the supply chain in China is very hidden. It's quite important, and that is very prominent in the healthcare sector. So when you're entering into it, calculate your costs carefully. For example, the rule of thumb, like one of the examples we've seen when pushing out these robotics in the healthcare sector, especially through hospitals, there are lots of middlemen in between. And even when we time the products 3 times higher on top of the cost, it was not enough to cover the cost and the commissions that you have to handle for the middlemen. So I think this is one of the key things that I would like to address. And apart from the 2 of the other speakers, I hope I'll be useful, that my comments and tips will be useful for you guys.
Of course. Thank you so much, Wendy. And well, that was the last question in this very interesting digital event today. Thank you all for joining us. We hope that all of you enjoyed it, same as I did. Special thanks, of course, to our 3 great panelists, Silvia, Wendy, Chanfang. Really amazing being able to share the panel with you today. Now, as a small gift for your contribution to this digital event, I am going to provide you our 3 certificates. Let me upload it here. I again ask you to switch on or click on the icon to see my shared screen. As many of you know, one of our main focuses here at the UTech is the sustainability, and our 2 cents in this regards is planting 1 tree in Africa in the name of each one of our panelists of all our webinars to reduce CO2 emissions and to contribute with the environmental development. So these are the 3 certificates for each one of you. Later, of course, I am going to send it to you by email. So this is the 3 certificate for Changfang Wang, another 3 certificate for Sylvia Stoker, and of course the 3 certificate for Wendy Cheng. Thank you so much, guys, for being here today, for sharing your knowledge, your experience, your use cases with all our audience, and for this really great panel discussion and webinar. Big thanks again also to our audience for being here today. Please join us at our LinkedIn China Alliance group. We hope to see you soon at our next event, starting of next week's networking meeting with our panelists and activities. And always remember, technology obliges. Thanks, thank you all, and take care. Bye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Very cool, Sylvia and Changfang.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.